asked her for her number because I assumed he liked her. She did give a man a number, but it wasn't her number. She didn't think much of this, right? I know many of us have done this before, where we give somebody a fake number because maybe we can't say no or we don't want to hurt their feelings. And that's exactly what Jennifer did. She didn't want to hurt the man's feelings, but she wasn't comfortable giving him her number. When she got to work, she didn't think nothing of it. Like, okay, I gave that guy a fake number, that's it. I'm grateful for the ride. She assumed she would never, ever see him again. Well, she was wrong. When work ended about 6 a.m., she headed to the bus stop. She heard a car pull up right next to her, and a man saying, "How are you? Do you remember me from last night? Do you want to get breakfast?" She said no. He said, "Well, at least let me give you a ride." And she said she didn't really want to ride the bus, right? So she was like, fine. And once she shuts that door, puts her seatbelt on, she doesn't realize that her fate is sealed. The man quietly mentions, "Hey, you remember the number you gave me last night? Well, it wasn't your number." At that moment, Jennifer's eyes got big and she sank right into the seat that she was sitting in. And she looked at the man and noticed a really quick, strange change in the man's demeanor. The man says, "When I called that number, an old bee answered the phone, and he started to scream at her." Jennifer went into shock like anybody else would. Immediately, the violence had started. She realized that the man had grabbed her from the back of her head, bashing her head into the console, the dashboard. She then saw a knife and a gun when her head got slammed in. He then began immediately to tie her hands behind her back. She realized that she was alone and vulnerable and didn't know what to do. The man began to drive in the desert. To see a man change from a man to a monster immediately was something that scared Jennifer. She never experienced anything so violent and so quickly at the same time. He reached over her seat, pulled it all the way back in a position where she would be laying down. He started taking her to a more desolate place in the desert. And in Palm Springs, it's very desert. He stops the car, takes her seatbelt off, and pulls the seat up. And he continues to be very, very violent during all this. He took the knife out, cut her clothes up, even snipping her bra off. He did the same thing to her underwear as well. He ends up getting on her, like straddling her, getting on her lap. So he began to look into her eyes. And she looked at him, and when she did, she saw absolutely nothing. Straight darkness. Evilness. At this moment in time, Jennifer was absolutely terrified, as anybody else would be as well. She had a feeling that he'd done this before. It seemed very, very like the man knew what he was doing. Now we will get into 6 years before this is happening at the same time. 6 years before Jennifer, a student by the name of Robin Bradley was kidnapped in 1986 in Orange County, California. She was found murdered in a parking lot at the Saddleback College in Orange County. Robin was the first murder of what they know of. She was stabbed 41 times. Her eyes were open when the police had found her. So imagine she had witnessed, she saw that man who had did this to her. There was actually no physical evidence left at the scene. Robin is found on the ground, bloody in a pool of blood next to her vehicle in a parking lot at the college. This case ended up going very cold for several years. Back to Jennifer, who's going through a vicious assault as we speak. This man has taken her and he has had her for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. He tried to rape her, but he couldn't perform. And he was getting very, very upset about this. The anger and violence in this man was felt by Jennifer. The violence continued to escalate. She felt her face getting very, very hot. Her vision became very blurry. That's when she realized he was going to kill her. He had his hands around her neck, constricting her breathing. He then got violent again with her and smashed her head into the dashboard of the car. Then he resuscitates her back very violently, then pulls her out of the car, throws her on the ground, and then kicks her. She's being beaten after being choked. He opens the car, the trunk of the car, and Jennifer immediately sees a large collection of knives. When she saw the knives, she knew, and she decided at that moment she wanted to die. It seemed that death was the only escape for Jennifer at that moment. After that, she began to antagonize the man. She began to call him names like moron and pervert. She told him to go and screw himself. She then started yelling at him to kill her. "Kill me. I'm not afraid of you." And then he grabbed her. And then he went and grabbed his gun and shoved it into her mouth. At that moment, she kept thinking that he was going to shoot her in the back of her head. She didn't know that she wasn't the only girl this man had hurt. Before, there was bodies of other women that had been dumped in that exact desert around Palm Springs, California. Back in 1988, a woman of the name of Julie McKees was found partially burned, and her body was mutilated. It was discovered in a very remote area of the desert near Palm Springs. Julie McKee was found shot with a .45 caliber handgun. The man ended up saying about Julie, and I quote, "We had sex. Then after that, things kind of got fuzzy of what happened." End quote. Her body was found scavenged by animals, obviously being left in the desert. The police had stated the scene was very ghoulish. The person that did that had no remorse, had no emotion towards women in general. 2 months after Julie's body had been found in San Diego, California, Mary Ann Wells, another woman, was brutally murdered and found dead in downtown San Diego. She was found shot with one shot behind the ear. In the early morning hours of April 1989, a man was walking through the desert and came across a body of a prostitute who he recognized, who lived in the Palm Springs area, named Tammy Irwin. He was saying he didn't remember if this lady was screaming through the entire attack or crying. So we have a woman back in Orange County at Saddleback College who was found murdered on the floor and shot. Then you got Mary Ann Wells, who was found in San Diego, a quite distance from each other, who was found murdered. Then we have somebody else who was found in the desert in Palm Springs. So this man is definitely taunting Southern California, and he's going in different counties to try to not let police get on his radar by switching counties and especially different cities. Going back to Jennifer, who is being assaulted by some man she doesn't even know, who gave her a ride after work in the early morning. 4 different agencies are investigating all these crimes, but they haven't connected at all. They are still investigating each individual murder as we speak. But, which is unfortunate, if the police had connected all the murders, Jennifer would not be going inside of her mouth. She knew then he would not pull the trigger. If he wanted to kill her, he would have pulled that trigger. So she felt that he was not going to do that, which was to her advantage. He pulled the gun out and shoved it back in her mouth, leading her to the back of the trunk, which he put her body in the trunk. While she's laying back in the trunk, he takes off. She feels the movement of the car. Her hands are still tied behind her back. One of Jennifer's first thoughts was of her grandmother. Her grandmother had mentioned to her, when you are in any type of trouble, pray to God and He will help you through this time of need. That is exactly what Jennifer did. She prayed to God, and at that time she felt her hands becoming free from the ties. She pushed her hands up and she was free. Jennifer began to feel around the trunk. She felt a lot of energy within herself as well to continue to fight and not let this be the day she dies. She was able to feel around the trunk. She started feeling and peeling away material from the trunk, and she ends up finding a latch. She ends up seeing that there was light coming from that latch. And then guess what she does? She ends up pulling the latch, which ends up opening the trunk. The killer began to pull over. When he pulled over, he got out of the car and he jumped on top of the trunk to close it, to make sure that it was closed. So then when he tries to take off again, Jennifer starts to feel that the car wheels are spinning out of control. This man is stuck in the sand. She then opens the trunk and she gets out and starts to run. Jennifer runs for her life. She even told herself something in her mind that just run. She is half naked and bloody. When she turned around, she sees the man holding a machete over his head, chasing her down the road. Jennifer was able to see an oncoming truck driving back towards her. She heard the truck's brakes immediately, and the two men got out of the truck and helped her and put her in the back seat. The two young men ended up chasing the guy. But Jennifer had stated, no, please, this man has a gun. So the two guys went to the nearest convenience store or gas station and was able to call the police immediately. Unfortunately, when they called the police and the police arrived where Jennifer was, they did not believe her. police wouldn't believe her, let alone her own mother not believe her. Jennifer began to feel she was the one going crazy. She started to doubt her whole attack entirely. 4 years after this attack, when Jennifer was attacked in September of 1992, 4 years, fast forward to 1996. Now we're heading to Chicago in the state of Illinois. So then Chicago started to be plagued with similar type of murders with women. 3 women had their hands tied behind their back. All 3 were found naked and discarded in water. The women's names were Laura Ulacki, Cassandra Gorham, and Lynn Huber. All 3 were shot with a .38 caliber handgun. They were able to conclude that all 3 victims were shot with the same handgun. But unfortunately, the police still had no clue of who could have did this to these women until they got a tip. A Hammond police officer was interviewing a local prostitute in his city. She had said and stated that one of the Johns, that is one of the regulars, requested to restrain her. It actually concerned her at the moment because she remembers hearing that the other victims were also restrained and their hands were tied behind their backs. It made her feel very, very uncomfortable. So then she did not feel comfortable and did not go along with it. But the women did know the man's name, and his name is Andrew Urdiales. Andrew was a 32-year-old male who had been raised actually in the Chicago area, who at one point in his life had joined the Marine Corps. Then after that, he became a security guard. Chicago police had found out that he had recently been arrested for carrying a loaded .38 caliber handgun. The police at that time had retrieved it when he was arrested. They were able to compare the gun that was collected from Andrew's possession compared to the gunshots that was related to the 3 women in Chicago, and come to find out, Lord behold, it was a match. Once the officers confronted him about this, about the 3 women, he then said, well, yeah, I did it. But by the way, you may need to call California because I did commit some murders there. Just nonchalant. A detective in Palm Springs was contacted regarding what Andrew had stated. Within an hour, the detectives had booked a flight straight to Chicago to go speak with Andrew regarding their old cases. They started getting some more info regarding some of the murders that occurred in the area. The detectives began to speak and get more information. Once they started speaking with Andrew, they felt immediately this man is pure evil. The detectives even felt how cold and calculus Andrew is. was somebody that he did kidnap and assaulted, but she had got away. And Andrew mentioned the one thing that started this whole thing was that when Jennifer gave him the wrong number, that's what enticed him to want to kidnap her. He was very angry and very offended by what she had did. He told the detectives how he beat her and how he cut her underwear, and he remembered all the details regarding the assault. She left running and screaming when I saw her last. In 1997, the police had came to Jennifer's home and told her everything, and at that moment, her life had changed. Jennifer went down to the police station and they laid out all the different photos of men in the lineup. They wanted her to identify the man that had attacked her back in September of 1992. And the man in the lineup that she had chosen was Andrew Urdiales. And they mentioned to her, he is a serial killer. Jennifer was in shock. She could not believe that she was the only sole survivor from this serial killer. Andrew Urdiales had killed 8, oh my god, 3, let's go, 8 women. 19 back in July 17th, 1988, January 18th, 1986, September 25th, 1988, April 16th, 1989, March 11th, 1995, July 14th, 1996, April 14th, 1996, and August 2nd, 1996. Jennifer is the only survivor. Once Jennifer heard all this, she immediately was happy that finally somebody believed her. Her attack was real. She did not make it up. It was a real, life-changing event. And finally, after 4 years, the man was caught. She felt happy that she was believed, but very, very sad that the other women did not make it out of the attack. A trial was set decades after the murders in Santa Ana, California, which is in in Orange County, and yeah, it's in Southern California. He was already convicted of the 3 women in Illinois before he was extradited back to California for his new trial. Jennifer went to every trial. Seeing him in court, she had stated it did not scare her. She felt more powerful. It seemed he was afraid of her because he was her only surviving victim, and he couldn't even look at her. So with all the testimony and the defense and prosecution stories based on the events and the murders and the assault on Jennifer, Andrew Urdiales was convicted and was charged and was found guilty of first-degree murder on October 2018. And he was sentenced to death in California. Since we have the death penalty here, his crimes were that gruesome and evil, which qualified that sentence for him. He ended up apologizing for his actions, as if he was sorry. Unfortunately, California wasn't the state that put him to death. A month later, from his conviction, Andrew took his own life and committed suicide. Jennifer had stated she's happy that the world is rid of that evilness. Some may say he took the coward's way out by committing suicide. Everybody has their own opinion on it. Unfortunately, it's sad.